we are really talking about here is that in a large way, marketing the way it was originally was really about talking to a mass set of customers, creating one proposition and finding mass channels to reach the customer. And in that process, what really happened was that marketers began to forget that one word called customer, right? Though consultants for years spoke about this, Peter Drucker in the 50s said that the most important, the reason for a company to exist is the customer. And then why is this not changing? Why are people not thinking of the customer too much? And yet, today, you have businesses who have built themselves only on two words, customer obsession, right? So you've heard of companies like Uber. How many of you use Uber in India or Ola cabs, right? I often wonder, whenever I use an Ola cab or Uber, everything on my smartphone is so convenient, right? I get the driver's name, I know how many minutes away he is from me, I get a quality rating, I understand data about how he's done with other people as well. All of it on my smartphone screen, right? And the B2B travel companies aren't learning from Ubers to say, you know what, if I consume services from a travel agency, there's an app I download, and that app, the moment I land, is telling me who my driver is and everything. Of course, you get SMSs or driver's number and all of that, but look at the customer experience. So the point I'm trying to make is that here are a bunch of companies, whether it's Flipkart, Amazon, Uber, Ola, who have disrupted through customer obsession. They've said, I will make it easier for you to do business with me. I will make it more valuable for you to do business with me. They're completely disrupted. And that disruption is creating headlines, because now Kishore Bayani is coming out and talking in headlines of newspapers today that look, allow us to also get FDI. Right? That's the degree of disruption that is going on. All because one bunch of entrepreneurs said the customer is more important. Right? What is the critical thing which has changed today, which was not there 10 years, 15 years ago? The fact that there was no internet 15, 20 years ago. The fact that customer data was not easy for you to absorb and get. Those are the changes. Because of which, anyone in any business can choose to disrupt herself or himself by being customer obsessed. Why wait for another entrepreneur to come in and to disrupt you if you are an established business? And if you are an entrepreneur, there is no easier way to think about opportunities apart from saying, what about my daily experience needs disruption? And the hundreds of ideas which you will get purely by looking at that plane. Country like India, that must be an idea a second, right? And that's the huge change in the way the marketing mindset needs to start. Decades earlier, in especially B2C marketing, what was most important? The brand. These are brands which are very powerful, and the brand really was what was important. In the decades after that, what started becoming more important was the retailer, because more and more consolidation started. Though in India it's still not at as fast a pace, but retailing started becoming, the channel became more important, right? So if the channel did not put your product up on a shelf, the brand would not be sold. So channel became more important, right? Now, in the current situation where we are, what is happening thanks to the fact that there is more information, the fact that now I don't have to be, if I walk into a Chroma and I look to buy a smartphone, at the same time with my smartphone, I know the price is 30% higher, right? So there's an information availability, because of which now the consumer is becoming more important than the brand and the retailer. Capital One is an amazing bank, and I will encourage you guys to read about this bank, because even before the internet revolution, there were two entrepreneurs who were bankers earlier. They went to 32 banks and said that the credit card business is not a banking business, it's an information business. And they said it's an information business because when you have a credit card, you know everything about the customer. So if you build a business for credit cards thinking like a banker, you will really not grow it too much. But if you think like someone who's thinking of an information business, it's an amazing journey. That's how they started. 32 banks said no to them. They started Capital One with private equity support at that stage. And today it's amongst the largest issuers in the US. And they use data analytics exceedingly carefully. Today if you have a complaint about a bank, how many hoops do you have to go through to get it solved, right? Even if you have a complaint about a consumer goods company, there'll be one toll-free number, some address, but it takes forever. Not so easy. But these companies the newer companies like Capital One, realize that how do I as a large company now make it easier for my consumers to deal with me? And that becomes all about interface. Eventually, how do I experience a company on a website, on a mobile phone, and in the branch, in a case of a bank? So they've actually, Capital One in the last few months has gone and bought a design and user experience company called Adaptive Path. Can you imagine a bank buying a design company, a creative shop? So some of you in the creative business, can you imagine someone like you, for example, working in a bank? They bought a design company, saying that if I want to be relevant to my consumers, if I can't make my digital entire experience so superior and so much better than the Amazons and the others of the world, that tomorrow there will be an Amazon bank, tomorrow there will be a Google bank, right? So I think the aspect of co-creation, the aspect of being able to make life easier for customers are the two disruptions that all of us as entrepreneurs in our own way are doing. My mother has learned Skype through my daughter who's 13 years old, right, and talks with my sisters in the US on an every week basis. She didn't know how to use Skype. She uses Skype. When she learned Skype and she loves to play Scrabble, my daughter told her that, oh, you like to play Scrabble, but online there are a lot of people who play Scrabble. So my mom said, oh, okay, I keep looking for friends to play, tell me about it. So my daughter got my mother enrolled into an online Scrabble site. When she did that, she found that whenever she woke up, for the first 2 hours, she would play Scrabble with people from across the world. She started playing. She told my mother-in-law. Now my mother-in-law is on the same side as my mother, and they're talking about potentially traveling to another place because they met someone on that site who wants to play Scrabble in a physical location. Can you believe this? Right? And that is exactly what's happening over here. There's a grandkid telling the grandfather about how to use the phone better. Right? And don't forget, what is happening is that we might say that our target audience is not necessarily the same as the millennial, but the millennial is influencing every target group around. If I want to travel from this city to another, all of us no longer pick up the phone and call a travel agent, right? We do our own bookings. But for people who are more senior, what's happening is they're reaching their grandchildren, they're reaching us and saying, book for me. And a whole travel agency business is getting disrupted. You know, marketing traditionally has often been defined in a very push way. All of us experience it as someone trying to sell me something. Koi bech raha hai. That's the consumption of marketing, right? But today, with the amount of data that the businesses have about you, right? If I give you a bank example, let's say I was living in Akola and then I moved to Mumbai. I've always been using my ATM card in Akola and suddenly I moved to Mumbai. From my ATM data, the bank knows that I moved city, right? The bank can start giving me information, guidance, offers, navigation capability for this new city, right? The data is there with the bank. And how many of us have moved cities? Many of us have moved cities. But have you ever experienced a bank giving this to you? Right? So the huge difference that I always talk about is that marketing will move from being a very push-based orientation, where all of us are pushing consumers to buy, to a very pull-based orientation, where basis the behavior change that you make. And these are the changes which we are seeing across all kinds of industries, not just in, let's say, a B2C side. Right? And why that is happening is the point that I made, that more than brand equity, thanks to this data, there is data equity. So again, I'll give you a bank example. If you're a credit card holder, how many of you may have used a card for a high value purchase in any retail store? Right? When you do that, you get a call back from the bank. Some of you may have got a call back from the bank. How do you feel in that? You actually feel good because you feel that I'm making a high value purchase, the bank knows it, and at the point of consumption, they care about me not getting defrauded. So from a risk perspective, they're calling me to ensure that I am me, right? That's an example of data equity playing out and becoming more strong than brand equity.